What a great day this is. Welcome to Sharing Indigenous Wisdom 2007. I'm Holly YoungBear-Tibbetts. I'm the Dean of External Relations for the College of Menominee Nation, and I want to take this opportunity to welcome you all to this exciting event. To begin our ceremonies for opening, I'd like to invite the veterans of the Menominee Nation and the Wisconsin Veterans Association Oneida chapter to come in and post the colors to a flag song and honor song by Wolf River Singers. Would you please rise? I want to introduce you to the heart and soul of the college, one of our students, and ask that you welcome Melvin Waupoose, who will introduce the flags that are being carried by the Honor Guard.
Good morning. Thanks, Wolf River, for the honor song, Grand Entry. Like to invite the Menominee vets of the Menominee Nation and the Wisconsin Indian Vets Association Oneida chapter. And Menominee vets, post your colors. And have a flag song. Nominees, veterans can post your colors. And now have a retreat song for the honor the veterans.
I wanted you to meet Melvin. Melvin Waupoose is a representative of the nearly 600 Native students having access to higher education at the College of Menominee Nation. Melvin's an intern at the Sustainable Development Institute and a major in natural resources. Thank you, Melvin. What an exciting week we have, a week of sharing Indigenous wisdom. And to assure that we do that in a good way, I'd like to ask Dave Nahwahquaw Grignon to offer us a blessing for our event.
Nahwahquaw nature Menominee ka kikita me mos to ma chasing tour. Ethiopia. Very honored to give the invocation today at the Sustainable Development International Conference. What I'll be saying in my prayer today is asking for health, strength, and life for everyone here. In that, I'll mention Kokomasa Kumikana, and that's our grandmother, the earth, that provides everything for us, and that we try to sustain and keep those resources that she gives us. Especially for Menominee, it's our forest that we try to sustain and keep the way one of our chiefs told us over 100 years ago. He told us the way we could do that, sustain our forest, and we still do that today. But I want to offer this prayer for everyone today, that you have a good meeting, and that the thoughts and things you learn, you take back to your communities and put those to work and sustain your resources. So 90 minute name is goes when Mishik Pamat 7. In a payum Tanana Kis Kato, Kipamonataya Makis Kamo, Mishika Kosamon, Winnie Tapakan, Winnow up, Kipamonataya Makis Kamo, Utopni Wakanum Nat the moment. So 90 minute name is goes when Arm Shik Pamat 7. In a payum on a Kosak Tiniwan, I always to Utopni Wakanum Nat the moment. So 90 minute name is goes when Arm Shik Pamat 7. Mishikakum, Upay to walk. Tiniwan, I always to Topni Wakanum Nat the moment. So 90 minute name is goes when Arm Shik Pamat 7. In a payum Miakanazet, Tenway Maknan of Manqua. Kasananamium Kamasaman, wait to Koke. Topni Wakanum Nat the moment. So 90 minute name is goes when Arm Shik Pamat 7. In a payum Kamasman, Kapa PTY Kasituok, a Manika Skinik, Utopni Wakanum Nat the moment. So 90 minute name is goes when Arm Shik Pamat 7. In a payum Uchichkicha Inaka, Umas Masanok, Utopni Wakanum Nat the moment. So 90 minute name is goes when Arm Shik Pamat 7. In a pay Manakas, Kumokaha, where to Peter Woko, Masanok, Topni Wakanum at the moment, so 90 minute name is cozy when Arm Shik Pamat 7. In a pay Manaka Sauno, where to Peter Woko, Masanok, Topni Wakanum at the moment, so 90 minute name is cozy when Arm Shik Pamat 7. In a pay Hanamakamak, where to Peter Woko, Masanok, Topni Wakanum at the moment. So 90 minute name is goes when Arm Shik Pamat 7. In a payum Kokomasa Kamikana, Umasamasanok, Topni Wakanum at the moment. So 90 minute name is goes when Arm Shik Pamat 7. In a payum Miami Kaisaseva Takono, Mamakayum, Metakupainini, Arm Shikaksana Painini, Topni Wakanum at the moment. So 90 minute name is goes when Arm Shik Pamat 7. In a payum Kikate, Nasewa, Masan Oak, Topni Wakanum at the moment. So naini minate ne muskozi wen shik pamat seven. Mama kono no kanapa matu sayan etanui makna ke must match me akite es yope kitanui makna kane. Yo.
Thank you so much. Here. You had another little box.
Oh, I
Thank you. We're so privileged to be here, and we have a number of folks to offer you their welcome. I first want to introduce you to, as I call him, my new best friend. My new best friend has served northeastern Wisconsin for many years as a physician, and most recently has been elected to represent the 8th Congressional District, where we are in the Congress of the United States. It's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Stephen Kagen.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. And thank you for being here. Thank you, Holly. Thank you, everyone, for participating. And although they may have left, I want to thank those who didn't entertain us but woke up our human spirit. And I think that we have to understand that it's important to be a human being. It's important to know where we've been from, where we come from, where we are now, and where we're going. And more importantly, now as not a physician, but as a person who represents the best interest of everyone in Northeast Wisconsin, I think it's a great time to ask questions. Some years, maybe 6 years, our federal government has been unable to ask questions. I think the most important question for me, representing all of you, is ask the question, what kind of nation are we? What kind of people are we when we pollute our air and our water and our lands? What kind of nation are we, and in which direction shall we turn? I'm hopeful that this meeting today will bring about possibilities for interaction amongst all of you from wherever you've come from, and that by bringing some ideas together, we can get our minds together and have a government that listens to the experts, that listens to the will of the people, and brings about a better situation for Mother Earth and for our planet as a whole. We have some great challenges in Washington, D.C. We have a clock that is ticking. We have a clock that's ticking because with climate change, there's a tipping point at which our global warming will become irreversible, and depending upon what scientists you believe in and what data you choose to respect, it looks to be about 2014 in our lifetime. So we have a great deal of work to be done. We have a great deal of ideas to learn. We have to use evidence-based, science-based, and indigenous knowledges to bring about some solutions. I applaud you for your Sustainable Development Institute. I'm amazed. I am amazed at what the Menominee are doing with their tribal lands. If you don't know their story, it's a good one to look into. They were lost and found, and they're back again. And the Oneida, thank you for hosting this. I believe very strongly in tribal sovereignty. If you don't have your land and you don't have your freedom, you don't have anything at all. I believe in the natural environment, in developing institutes and institutions that can outlive all of us. It is our institutions that we're going to be creating and developing and that change through time with each generation that will help sustain all of us and our children and great-grandchildren to come. I think the human activities that have occurred during the last several generations have brought us to this point in time. We're all here for a very good reason, and that is to listen to one another, to learn from each other, and I look forward to serving your best needs in Washington, D.C. I encourage you to pay attention, to be good listeners, and don't give up this spirit that you can make a difference. One person can make a difference, and if not now, when? And if not you, then who? Let's ask questions. Let's find some solutions together. Thank you so much. Have a great meeting. Now, you're not a lobbyist, are you, Holly?
Not at all. We share our mutual commitment to sustainable development. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great meeting.
Travel well, Congressman.
Thank you.
It's important that we acknowledge the indigenous people on whose site we have gathered. And so to give a welcome to all of you from all over the globe, we have the Vice Chairman of the Oneida Nation of Wisconsin Indians, Kathy Hughes. Kathy?
Good morning and welcome to the Oneida Radisson Inn. I'm representing the Oneida Business Committee, which is the governing body of the Oneida Tribe of Wisconsin. And on their behalf and my behalf, I'd like to also welcome you to the Oneida Reservation. I was really impressed with the conference organization and the discussions that you're going to be having here today. The indigenous nations have a lot of wisdom and knowledge to share. We're doing a lot of things right. And I think if we keep talking to one another, eventually others who are trying to do things in other ways will start hearing and perhaps, as the Congressman said, listen to us. We have the knowledge and the traditions of our ancestors. We've always honored that wisdom. And I believe that the discussions that you're going to have here this week is going to be helpful to those of us who still want to learn more. I was really impressed with the makeup of the agenda. There is a lot that's going to be shared here this week. And I believe that we are going to see a more hopeful future with the improvements in our environment. The small steps are major in our area, such as what Menominee is doing with the forest lands. And I know you're going to be sharing much more information as this week goes on. So I wish you well, and I hope you do, as the Congressman suggested, listen well and learn a lot. Thank you.
A gift from the Menominee Forest. I so appreciate the Congressman and Vice Chairwoman Hughes's willingness to stop in and visit with us, if only briefly, as they both have some demanding jobs that they need to take care of. We have an exciting week ahead, and I thought it would be beneficial if we could spend a few moments talking about the entire week's events. And so we'll have a conference overview by two of the principals that have been active planners of this conference. I want to introduce them to you by just introducing the folks that have participated and collaborated in planning this event. First of all, the Sustainable Development Institute faculty and staff. Would you all raise your hands, all of you that are faculty and staff of the Institute? You know them today by their green shirts. If there is anything that you need, please don't hesitate to contact one of the Institute faculty or staff, and they'll do everything they can to assist you. We're also privileged to have as a co-sponsor the U.S. Forest Service. The Institute has a partnership with 5 divisions of the Forest Service called the Center for First American Forest Lands. It's one of the primary ways that we meet the mission of the Sustainable Development Institute. And so we've been privileged to work with members of the U.S. Forest Service in planning the conference and in bringing all of you together. So would all of you Forest Service people please stand up or raise your hands? And I want to acknowledge and thank them for their co-sponsorship. We have a new organizational partner in this year's dialogue, and that's the International Union of Forest Research Organizations. And that organization has been conducting global regional summits all over the world. This is their North American summit. And so part of our conference will include the North American summit that IUFRO is conducting. So all you IUFRO folks, nice to have you here. So that's the group that's been working for about a year and a half in preparation for this conference. We hope you enjoy it and take the opportunity to build a strong network of friends in this broad community of interest. To share more about the logistics of the conference, I'd like to invite Dr. William Van Lopik from the Sustainable Development Institute faculty and John Perrotta from the IUFRO Task Force to give you the details of the conference events.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you all here at this conference. I just wanted to mention a little bit of the history of it. I'm with the Sustainable Development Institute and on the faculty of the college and teach sustainable development classes there. Our first conference we had in 2004, Sharing Indigenous Wisdom. And it was a small conference, but we thought very successful. And the indications of that success have even keep coming over the last few years. I still get solicitations from people who want the proceedings, who want to know more about what happened at that conference. In preparation of this conference, I already had a periodical from United Kingdom say, "We were so excited about your last conference, please submit an article for our journal about this conference." So it's the kind of thing that has grown, and the seed was planted in 2004 and has germinated, and has this conference, the number of people is much larger than what we had last time. So it's an indication that there's a need for this and there's a desire for this. The impetus for this conference really has come out of it's sponsored by the Institute, and the Institute was formed about 13 years ago as an expression of the history of the Menominee and the way they have managed the forest. But this conference is much more about than just forests. We're looking at sustainable development in a very broad way, and that's why we've chosen the papers that we have and the presentations, because we are looking at sustainability not only of the natural environment, but of culture, of institutions, of how technology, how economic development, sustainable economic development, the whole range of sustainability is what we wanted to bring forth in this conference. And that's why we've divided up into the different sessions that we have. And as you can see from your program there, each different session has a different focus area that we look at. And how we're going to run those sessions is each presenter will talk about their study. And it was very important for us that this not be so much academic kind of conference. And that's why one of the mandates that we had when we were looking at the different papers was that if an academic person was going to come, they had to make sure they had a counterpart from a community that they were working with. And that was very important, that we get voices, not just academic voices, but the whole range of voices from communities too. And that's what makes this, I think, unique. So in each session, the presenters will present, and then after that, we'll have a dialogue. Because it's important, this is called a dialogue on sustainable development. Meaning we're just not here to sit and listen to someone else talk about it, okay? Because each person here brings a knowledge to this table, and we want to have the opportunity and that window for everyone to have a chance to talk. And that's how we were going to learn together, is by dialoguing. I would say each of us are an expert in our own certain way when we talk about sustainability. We'll have all of our meetings in here, except for the powwow on Wednesday night, which will be in that large room across the hall over there. You know, sustainability is very much in the news now. You hear just about anything you pick up, they talk about sustainability. And it's sort of in vogue to talk about it. But the marvelous thing about this kind of conference and what you're going to hear in the next week is this issue of sustainability is not just something that came up recently. In indigenous communities, this has been for thousands of years. This kind of value has been talked about. And that's what we're going to talk about. And that's what we're going to learn during the course of this week. It was already recognized, the Sustainable Development Institute staff, they have done, none of them I think will be up here at this podium, but I would say this conference, I know this conference would not happen without those guys sitting at the cameras and sitting in that back row, that they have done just a marvelous, incredible job. It's a small staff to arrange and make the accommodations and arrangements for people from, I was counting, at least 11 different countries are represented here, and another many various different tribes here in North America. So it's a great diversity of folks here. I think that's so the layout will be here, and we'll have our breakfasts and our lunches will be served here. Over there. All right, we got to learn our sign language. Okay. Just follow our orders, and everything will go good, okay? And they may be evolving as the week goes on, so, because things change and speakers change, but hopefully everything you see in the program will basically go as planned. John, would you like to?
Thank you very much, Bill. I'd like to echo Bill's appreciation, or expression of appreciation to the Sustainable Development Institute and the College of Menominee Nation as a whole for the outstanding work that's been done to organize this conference. It has been a distinct pleasure for me as a representative of UFRO to work with the folks at the college and the institute, as well as my colleagues in the U.S. Forest Service to make this happen. So I'm honored to be here this morning. Over the next, actually I was given a little bit more time than I initially thought would be available in the program, so I thought I would present a little an infomercial for what we're doing in UFRO on the topic of traditional forest knowledge. And I am as was mentioned, I'm the coordinator of this initiative. So I'd like, just for those of you who may not be familiar with the International Union of Forest Research Organizations, this is a very old network of organizations throughout the world in over 110 countries. We have something like 700 member organizations. The organization has been in existence for 125 years now. Oh no, 120. I can't count, but it's well over 100 years. And we hope to serve not only the forest science community, but individual scientists, non-government organizations, decision-making authorities and administrations, forest landowners, and other forest-dependent people. UFRO is a voluntary organization, and we work through the initiative of our member organizations and a very large number of working parties and research groups that deal on very specific topics that cover the full range of the biophysical and social sciences that are pertinent to forestry research and forest management. In addition to this permanent structure that consists of divisions, research groups, and working parties, UFRO establishes task forces, usually for a 5-year period, to foster increased activity in interdisciplinary research and outreach in key fields. These include, of course, this issue of traditional forest knowledge, but we have a number of others, and some of them are listed here. Incidentally, there's quite a bit of information on UFRO and its activities on the table outside for those who are interested during the course of the week. When we talk about traditional knowledge in the context of UFRO, I think it's important for me to define a little bit of what exactly we're talking about. And the definition that we've been using, that we do use, is that which is used by the United Nations Forum on Forests. And that is that it's a cumulative body of knowledge, practice, and belief handed down through generations by cultural transmission and evolving by adaptive processes about the relationship between living beings, including humans, with one another and the forest environment. Why is an organization like UFRO interested in traditional forest knowledge when our foundations are based in formal Western forest science? Well, traditional knowledge is becoming increasingly recognized as important throughout the world, not just by local communities and indigenous peoples, but by political bodies as well. And we see a tremendous increase over the last five years or so in traditional forest knowledge, in intergovernmental organizations and policy forums, in some cases by national governments, by non-governmental organizations, and scientific societies. UFRO as an international organization is particularly interested in how this issue develops and evolves in the international policy arena. And as I just mentioned, it's becoming increasingly respected and recognized by many countries and in these large international policy fora. These include the Rio Conventions, such as the Convention on Biodiversity and the UN Convention to combat desertification. There's a tremendous amount of activity in both of those bodies and fora on this topic, as well as in the United Nations Forum on Forests. There are many very good reasons why this topic is becoming is being paid greater attention to. As we all know, certainly everyone in this room, traditional forest knowledge is an integral component of the cultures of indigenous and many other traditional rural communities. However, the bad news is that this knowledge is fast disappearing in many parts of the world, and for many reasons. These include weak or non-existent land rights and protection of forests from encroachment or expropriation, ongoing erosion of traditional lifestyles, cultures, and values, and degradation of forest ecosystems themselves. In addition, there are many issues that have arisen regarding the commercialization of traditional knowledge by scientists sometimes and by business interests without prior informed consent or adequate sharing of benefits with the holders and users of this knowledge. And we see a number of very controversial cases that have developed over the years regarding the patenting of medicinal plants, for example. But it also extends to other forms of traditional knowledge that have commercial potential. Well, that was the bad news. The good news is there are a number of emerging opportunities for the preservation, enhancement, and application of traditional forest knowledge. In particular, the growing awareness and support for principles of sustainable forest management, as was mentioned earlier. Criteria and indicator processes, these give very serious consideration to ecological, economic, and social sustainability. The three pillars. Social sustainability includes cultural and spiritual values and in order to make progress in this area, it requires the effective participation of local and indigenous communities. Therefore, all relevant knowledge about forests and their values can and should contribute to their sustainable management, both formal scientific knowledge and traditional knowledge. At present, particularly in the policy arena, formal scientific knowledge is widely used and respected, while traditional forest-related knowledge is often either ignored or else very poorly understood by decision makers, and also those of us within the forest science community. We recognize this. Despite the formal recognition of its actual and potential role in forest management. In light of all of this, the UFRO as a body decided to establish a task force on traditional forest knowledge. This is the result of UFRO's increasing involvement in international forest-related processes and its commitment to more actively engage in issues that are most important to forest-dependent communities, decision makers, and the general public. Over the last 5 years in particular, we've sort of crawled out of or dropped out of our ivory tower and are beginning to engage much more actively with the broader with society at large. So it was established about just under 2 years ago, and it has two primary aims, and that is to address a need for a systematic global effort to explore and strengthen linkages between scientific and traditional forest knowledge systems. And through this process, we also hope to foster some more effective synergies between traditional forest knowledge and scientific forest knowledge in forest management applications. Just a couple of words on how we are organized. It's a very diverse group of individuals involved in this task force. We have a core group of regional focal points that include a balanced representation of scientists and the holders and users of traditional forest knowledge and other experts from different regions of the world. It is truly global. In addition, sort of surrounding each of these focal points, we have a number of regional networks of individuals and organizations with whom we communicate and work to organize conferences such as this one. We have three primary objectives during this 5-year period of the task force's existence. We hope to review and synthesize information and experiences on how traditional and scientific forest knowledge work at different geographic and temporal scales. We hope to identify significant knowledge gaps for further work by UFRO as a whole. And we hope to promote research and collaboration between forest scientists and the holders and users of traditional knowledge based on trust and mutual respect. This is very, very important to us. So part of what we're doing, is, as Holly mentioned, is to organize a number of regional conferences. And there are a number of topics that will be common to most, if not all, of these conferences. We're interested in the history of the relationship between formal forest knowledge and traditional forest knowledge. We feel it is very, very important to understand the history of this relationship if we hope to have a more fruitful relationship in the future. We are interested in the application of traditional forest-related knowledge to forest ecosystem assessments and management, and I think there's a lot of experience in this particular conference on that topic. We're interested in analyses of the integration of traditional and formal scientific knowledge, which again, we have a lot of very, very good presentations scheduled on this topic as well. And we are mindful of that there have been many experiences, some good, some bad, and lessons learned related to the resolution of conflicts that can and do arise regarding traditional forest knowledge and formal forest science in forest management applications. We are interested in learning more about local and indigenous community priorities for scientific study in relation to forest management. And again, through all of our discussions at the regional level and at the global level, we want to synthesize best experiences of best practices for including traditional knowledge and formal science in education, research, and forest management. So this is the second of our regional conferences. We had one last year in Europe, which had quite a different focus. It was dealt more with priorities that were important to local communities in Europe, and the main one being the conservation of cultural heritage as represented in European landscapes and the forests of Europe that have been managed for hundreds of years by traditional, by local communities, which are changing fast due to very rapid economic and social change in Europe. And of course, we have our conference this week, and the next conference will be the Asian conference. It will take place in China in December, and we are hoping to have several other of these conferences within the next 2 to 3 years in other parts of the world. The other major piece of work for the task force is the preparation of a global state of knowledge report. And I won't go through all the details, but it will, in this, we hope to synthesize the experiences from regional conferences, plus an analysis of published information worldwide on the topics that I mentioned a couple of slides ago. And we have a big piece of this State of Knowledge report will be a series of regional chapters that cover all of those topics. And we have and Ron Trosper from the University of British Columbia, who is here today. He is coordinating the preparation of the North American regional chapter for the State of Knowledge report. And he'll be talking about that, I think, on Thursday during his presentation. And I should also mention that Ron is the North American focal point for our task force. So just to wrap up here a bit, a few major points that I want to leave you with is that traditional wisdom and its associated forest knowledge is critical to both survival of cultural diversity and sustainable forest management in many parts of the world. While this knowledge is disappearing quickly, efforts to preserve and enhance it are definitely increasing. UFRO's task force on traditional forest knowledge is working to enhance mutual understanding and trust between the forest science community and the holders and users of traditional knowledge. And through this effort, UFRO seeks to develop a better understanding of the relationship between forest science and traditional knowledge and enhance its contribution to international policy processes. And finally, I'd like to thank you in the 4 official languages of UFRO. So thank you for your attention. Gracias, merci, danke. Have a good week.
So that's an overview of the various aspects of the conference. Dr. Van Lopik shared with you the importance of this as a dialogue. And following our opening ceremonies, when we begin our series of presentations in the afternoon, at the conclusion of each of those sessions, we will launch a dialogue, and we encourage you to be an active participant in that. You know, when you have such luminaries as yourself coming from all over the world, and you're thinking about a program like this, you kind of ponder the question, who should be a keynote speaker? Who has a message that's important for all of us to hear? And we were quite privileged at College of Menominee Nation to have a colloquium delivered and helped us identify who this stirring keynote speaker might be. And our keynote speaker today is Zakka, Chomock, and he's from Nigeria. He's a member of the Gong minority group, and he lives in the middle belt of Nigeria. He received his undergraduate degree in general agriculture and public administration in Nigeria, and he received his master's degree in development management from the Asian Institute of Management in the Philippines. He's worked for 20 years on development issues in Western Africa, and he's currently working as the West Africa Justice Education Coordinator for the Christian Reform World Relief Committee. It's my privilege to introduce to you Zakka Chomock.
I bring you greetings from Nigeria and from West Africa. In my native tongue, I would like to say Nishitena, and your response would be Nesit Ndang Dang. Can I hear you say that? Nesit Ndang Dang. Now, if that is too complicated for you, I will still use another language in Nigeria, which is a bit simple. It's a kind of a regional language that we speak. It's called Hausa. And to say the same thing in Hausa would be Inakwana, and then your response will simply is Lafia. I think that's simple enough, yeah? So Inakwana, Lafia. Now, Lafia means well. We are well. Now, Africa is a continent that believes so much in human relationship, and so there is a lot of greetings. There are some tribal groups in Africa that could spend even 30 minutes just greetings because they're interested in finding out how the chickens are doing, how the goats are doing, how everybody is doing in the family, because, they feel wellness is the fact that every aspect of your life is well and is doing okay. I would want to share with you this morning the Nigerian experience, especially as it relates to a minority group or minority groups where oil is being mined in the Niger Delta region of Nigeria. And so my presentation this morning is going to be on democracy and the politics of oil and its impact on sustainable development, the Nigerian experience. Entire population of the country. Now, Nigeria is the largest oil producer in Africa and the 10th largest in the world. She also has the 7th largest proven natural gas reserve in the whole world. Nigeria's dependence on oil is overwhelming. Much of Nigeria's GDP is driven by oil production, which accounts for 40% of its GDP, 95% of the total exports, and 80% of the gross government revenue. The Nigerian oil sector is an enclave sector with little or no linkages to other sectors of the economy, resulting in the abandonment of agricultural and manufacturing sectors, which have stayed inefficient and weak. For 40 years of oil production and exports brought into Nigeria over $350 billion in earnings, yet 70% of Nigerian population are still living on less than $1 a day. And under these conditions, what do you think about sustainability? Nigeria, with over 250 ethno-linguistic groups, is one of the most ethnically diverse countries in the world. The Nigerian crisis, as argued, is not the number of ethnic groups. There are other countries in the world, such as Indonesia, that have comparable, number. It is the politicization and the intensification of ethnic diversity in national life, including the conduct of state affairs and private sector activities. And to my mind, if you want to talk about sustainability, you have to talk about people and the ability of people to live together to harness their own natural resources. But under the coming of the government, it tries to, because riding on the natural heterogeneity that prevails in the country is to further divide people so that they can continue to have the benefits go to the hands of very few people. Now, each ethnic group organizes themselves in the contest for the state booties and see public policies largely from the prism of their ethnicity or selective or sectional interest. This politicization and intensification of ethnicity is at the heart of the perennial allegations of marginalization by the different ethnic groups that make up the Nigerian Federation. In the wake of conflict in oil-producing communities in the 1990s, as a strategy for addressing the crisis associated with the political allocation of oil rents, the 1999 Nigerian Constitution mandates that at least 13% of revenue generated from oil be paid to the states where it is produced. The federal government began payments according to this new allocation in 2000, although the amounts states gained about 120 million in 1999, rising to almost 1 billion in 2001. The concentration of power at the federal and state levels means the concentration of economic and political power. In Nigeria, the Constitution vests ownership of mineral resources on the federal government. What this translates to at the federal level is that with the concentration of economic and political power, whoever wins election at the federal level controls both economics and political power, having access to vast resources from oil at the detriment of the entire nation. The implication of this is that only those who control political power can grant the opportunity to make money from oil, and only those who receive this opportunity can provide the revenues to keep the regimes in power. Thus, a partnership of mutual interest exists between those who have political power and their friends. This partnership historically is central to an understanding of the deliberate subversion of the system of accountability in the oil sector, and indeed the entire federation, such that the system are deliberately weakened and cannot play their expected roles. So while the powers at the federal level are smiling to the banks, the citizenry wallows in poverty. In this environment, it's near impossible to consolidate democracy. Now, this is a kind of an alliance that the home governments acting in perceived national security and economic interests have formed strong alliances with authoritarian Nigerian military rulers who happen to sit on top of oil deposits and have downplayed their records of human rights violation. At the same time, they have failed to insist that the multinational oil companies cooperate with the same standards abroad that they are held at home. And that is the major source of environmental degradation in the oil-producing areas in Nigeria, where the oil companies are not operating with standards. I have had the opportunity of doing some work within the Niger Delta area where oil is being mined. And the source of livelihood of the people is completely destroyed, because the two basic sources of livelihood of the people are basically in agriculture by way of farming and also in fishing. So all the rivers have been polluted, through oil spillage. And the same thing, with the lands, because of the pipes that have been laid. The pipes are not according to standards, and so you have a lot of oil spillage that have made agriculture almost impossible. And so the aquatic life, the marine life has all been destroyed, and even source of safe drinking water is no longer available in the Niger Delta area. And so that has become a very big environmental disaster within the Niger region area of Nigeria. And so there are a lot of these issues that has to do with sustainability. Now, the oil poverty conflict nexus. Nigeria, like Other oil-producing African countries demonstrate perverse linkages between the skewed economic performance, poverty, injustice, and conflict. The gap between the expectations and the dismal economic performance is politically explosive. Because the government is perceived as involved in funneling petrodollars to their friends, family, and military and political supporters, social class, ethnic, or religious groups, the population see foreigners and favorize getting rich, but their own lot does not change. Over time, this is not a formula for stability, which is so critical to democratic consolidation. And so those are some of the challenges that people are seeing. Foreigners who come are making so much money, yet the condition of the poor people has continued to be the same, and that has brought a lot of agitation. And I'm sure for those of you that have been following the news, you've been hearing a lot of crises that are going on in the oil-producing country, producing area in Nigeria, especially kidnapping of oil workers from different nationalities. And so some of the critical issues that are very fundamental for me is the issue of environmental degradation from oil activities, like I've really mentioned. I tell you, I don't have the capacity to explain to you the reality that is going on as a result of destruction in environment, the distortion of the marine and aquatic life. And the entire system is just very chaotic. And amidst all of that, that is where the wealth, of the country is being produced. And the livelihood of local people have basically been destroyed. Now, because they do not have access to political power, and so they have no control over the resources that are being produced from their backyards. And so that has led to a lot of agitation. And then the aspect of corruption from both government officials, local leaders, and oil companies. It's very phenomenal. And corruption is just the order of the day. The oil companies, because of the fact that they want to operate without standards, they end up just giving money to a lot of government officials and also the traditional leaders in order to pacify them while the rest of the community continues to suffer. And that has given rise to conflict situations that have dire consequences on us. Sustainable development, to me, becomes a challenge and almost impossible in the face of environmental degradation, where the means of livelihood of people is completely destroyed. People's creativity and their ability to determine a future for themselves becomes impossible. The situation has led to youth to seek easy way of getting money, resulting in them kidnapping oil workers while young women get into prostitution. And so it's quite a very big challenge. And young people refuse to go to school because they can have easy access to money. But the question is, for how long can that continue? And so with that, I would like to just stop. And I think that for me, in conclusion, for development to be sustainable, it has to focus on people and creating the enabling environment for the people to use their own resources to build a future for themselves and for their children. Exploiting people and their resources can be detrimental to development with their consequences that cannot be predicted. So as we meet, I hope I've been able to raise issues that have a broad application in terms of discussing sustainability. And I would just pause here and thank you very much for the opportunity to share with you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
With our thanks, some gifts from the forest.
Thank you.
Join me in thanking Zakka for his presentation. Thank you.